everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On the Bright Side. I'm your host, Caroline Susko. You guys, for those of you who are new here, welcome to my safe place. Welcome to your safe place, full of mental health conversations, navigating your 20 tips, and a lot of just tea talking and chatting. It's kind of everything all at once in here. Today we're starting off with a super silly story. I was at bar class this morning, and for those of you who don't take bar, when your body begins to shake, it means you're in a really good working zone because you're using muscles and parts of your body that you usually don't use that are like weaker, so they're shaking. And if you don't know already, I had tremors. So when I'm in class, I always have tremors. I have body tremors. So I'll be doing bar, and she'll be like, beautiful shake. And today she goes, way to be in the shake zone. I'm like, who's gonna tell her I am always in the shake zone? But she is the most precious, sweetest person ever. And I'm like, who's gonna tell her? Because I can't. So I'm just like, keep going. So for everyone keeping track, now with my shakes, I have gotten praise at bar class and into a bar for free. So let's just see where these tremors bring me next. They're like my newest bit. I've just made them a part of my life, and everything is just funnier with them. Anyways, I'm glad you guys are here with me today. This past weekend, I went to Boston and I got to visit all my college friends. We had Dipsgiving, not Friendsgiving, not Thanksgiving, Dipsgiving. So we all brought a dip and we had a girls' night. We put on our pajamas. We actually watched the Tyson versus Jake fight. Yeah, definitely screams girls' night. But we had so much fun together. But it was definitely a short, quick trip because we all have to go back to our jobs and school and whatever. But I had so much fun. Then we went to Snowport the next day. For those of you who have not been to Snowport, it's a super cute little like Christmas village in Boston that they do a pop-up for. The line looks so long and it's daunting, but it literally takes 30 minutes to get through. So much fun. You have to go at least once. Maybe after a couple times you're like, meh, but definitely go at least once. But had so much fun with them. And then when we were all home, one of my friends sent like this super cute Friends quote and just was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we got to do this weekend. I love you all so much. And I'm so glad we're all so close. And that picture that my friend sent me off of Pinterest is what inspired today's episode. All right, she sent this. I like the way I am around my friends, the kind of woman I want to be all the time, in moments where everything I say is fine. For once, I'm not afraid of making a joke. For once, it's not forced. I feel radiant and desirable instead of small and uncomfortable. I'm at ease. I'm exactly who I love and want to be, not a trad version of the side of me that all the others see because of anxiety. Only with my friends am I truly myself. Only with them, I feel fully and unconditionally free. Friends. Like, I love Anything Precious, but that just hit all the right heartstrings and made me want to talk all about Friends in today's episode because it's definitely been a pipeline of my friendship journey. And I think it's a relatable one. I mean, I feel like a lot of people go through friendships and some are absolutely awesome, but it takes time to find them. Or your day one stays your day one. Or you think your day one is your day one, but they're not your day one. And there's so many different ways of navigating these friendships. And when I'm with people like this, I just love the person I am. I just know I can completely be myself, say anything, and not feel like I'm going to be talked about later. And that is a very refreshing feeling. And I think sometimes when we say it out loud, we're like, oh my gosh, my friends would never talk about me like that. Like, why would I have that stress? But it's like an unspoken stress sometimes where you think people are your friends and then you just know if you shut that door and walked in 2 minutes later, some people would be talking about you. And I've had friendships like that in the past. And I hate to say it, but at a time when I was super insecure and jealous and not in a good place, I was also that friend to some people, and it showed. You know, the kind of person you are the people you attract. So obviously I was attracting negative, toxic relationships if that's the way I was acting too. And just because you call someone your friend or your best friend doesn't mean that they can get away with stuff like that or that they should, just because they have that title of being your best friend. And I think a lot of people are quiet about it because they're embarrassed of feeling like they're a burden or that there's someone that's not put first. But today's episode is about real life and trying to not be so embarrassed because it's something that's very normal and happens to so many people, whether we like to talk about it or not. And finding those good relationships will make you come to a point where you feel wanted, where you feel heard, where you feel like a priority to them, and vice versa. But it wasn't always like that, and sometimes I didn't make it easy for other people. Sometimes we don't make it easy for other people. But when you find the right group, like I have now, it feels like I don't know, like refreshing. And if one of us isn't there, it feels like a puzzle piece is missing. We all complete each other being there together, and there's like 10 of us. And if only 9 of us are there, we still have so much fun, but we're like, oh, where's our final puzzle piece that like pulls us all together? Everything just feels safe, and my anxiety of fitting in is never thought about, because for a very long time in my life, that was something I was very worried about and focused on, is fitting in and wanting to be liked and wanting to be a really good friend to everyone, and taking so much of my people-pleasing energy and people-pleasing way too many people, and it still never benefited me. And anyways, these friendships that I have now are what friendships should feel like. You shouldn't be worried that someone's going to talk about you. You should be able to feel like you can say anything you want and not feel judged. You should feel comfortable. Your anxiety should be able to go down or go away. I know there's some people like me where your anxiety never goes away, but what I'm saying is when I'm with these people, my anxiety definitely goes down a few notches. They're my safe people. And everyone needs a safe person. And sometimes we're just so wrapped into these friendships because they're our day ones and we think we have to spend forever with them. And sometimes we don't realize, okay, maybe I need to take a break. Maybe I need to step back. And this was definitely a learning point for me over the past year or so, where I learned what was right for me. And sometimes I knew it wasn't right, but I wasn't strong enough to go away. And sometimes it was the other people that did it for me. And you look back and it's a blessing. But as lucky as I am to be surrounded by the people that make the corners of my mouth go up, they make me so happy. They make me feel so loved and so heard. Not all my friendships in my lifetime felt like this. And I think we can all agree. We've never met every person in our lifetime and get along with them well, or really hit it off and be their day one forever. Sometimes we're with them for 5 years. Sometimes we're with them for a month. And then we realize, okay, this isn't it. It's a lot of different paths. Again, there's not one path to this. But growing up, I felt a lot of those negative friendships. I learned a lot of those negative friendships. And I've also learned amazing friendships from people that were my absolute day one that I met in kindergarten. But with all friendships and relationships, there's ebbs and flows. And I really think to bring this episode to you in the correct way, and a way that's relatable, in a way that can make you feel less alone, I feel like I have to share some of my stories. But they're my experiences and they're my stories to tell. And I know telling these stories are going to have people being like, oh wait, this just doesn't happen to just me. This happens to a lot of people. So if I get a couple of eye rolls from this or some DMs, it's okay. And I really think sharing my life will really help be able to tell this story and get us all feeling heard and on the same page. So let's chat. Basically, not all my friendships in my lifetime felt like butterflies and rainbows. Some were filled with jealousy, some were just not on the same priority level, and some were just complete back burner friendships. When I say back burner friendships, I mean the friendships that if they don't have a better offer, then they'll say yes to you, then they'll hang out with you, then they'll invite you. And that can be one of the worst feelings to have. You know, when people pick team for a dodgeball and you think like this person is going to pick you first, and then you're like the last person to be picked and you're like, wait, what? It kind of feels like that, because you think like, you're like, if I were picking these people for my team, I would have picked this person in a heartbeat. But like, why didn't they pick me and why am I dead last, you know? And it's not to say that's a negative thing about them or you know, sometimes you're just different priorities. There are things in life going on. There are people that they could meet and become closer with, and it's all okay. And it's all part of life. But just because these things happen in life and are a part of life doesn't mean your feelings are any less valid to feel your emotions and feel angry and sad and upset. There were days where I literally remember praying and I was like, God, please help me find my group of people that put me first like I put them first, because there were so many times in my life where I'd be like seeing Snapchats and I wouldn't be invited, or it'd be like a sneaky hangout that I wasn't invited to and then I like somehow find out. And no one should ever feel like that. And in friendships that are truly valued with one another, you're not going to be the friend that's sometimes invited to big events where everyone else is invited. That's not how it works. and it took a lot of my life to figure that out. And this is why I got a little sidetracked, but this is why I'm doing today's episode, because this episode is for everyone, but especially for the people who don't feel like they fit in or they feel like they were put on the back burner. Because before I was me, now I was her. And it is a very isolating feeling to feel like people you consider your best friends, while you're just a second option in a book. If someone can't go, then they'll invite you. Or you're on the B list. But you may be on someone's B list, but to someone else, you are on their first priority A list. You can tell I'm a little anxious talking about this episode because I've been told, why do you keep fixating on that? Or like, why not talk about something else? Or why are you bringing up the past? And that's not it. And I think sometimes people that are immature want to look at it like, oh, they're bringing up the past, they're doing this. No. There is a very fine line between those two. I always said this podcast was for people to feel related to. So I will always bring out the raw and the real parts of my life, because to be able to relate is to also feel seen. And I don't think I can fully make you feel seen until you can look at my situations and say, wait, this happens to other people too. Because it's one thing for me to just say, oh, I understand, feel better. But it's also another for me to share my experiences and say, hey, this happens to a lot of people and it's not just you, and it doesn't say anything about you, and your real people will come. Okay, I feel so much better just getting that off my chest and making my point very straight before we get going. So I had a lot of friend groups growing up, and one of my friend groups, I felt like I was on top of the world with them. I felt so lucky to be friends with them, and I really thought they were like my everything and my world. And to some, to this day, oh my gosh, of course, yes, they are. But this bigger friend group I was in, I was a part of the group, and that was like a privilege to me. I felt so happy, but I didn't have that luxury of always being invited, and I found myself trying to prove that I was a really fun person and someone who should be invited. And anytime I had any plans, I tried to invite everyone because I was like, yes, because then I'll be invited next time. But unfortunately, that was not how it worked out. I had this plan, but the plan did not go as planned. And I would be so upset when I saw private stories or Snapchats of them together, and I'd be like, wait, what? I thought we had fun together last time. I thought I would be invited this time. And then it became a routine where I would see it, and then I would go cry to my mom. My mom was a saint. She had to pick me up every single time after, and she'd be like, maybe this isn't a great idea to keep hanging out with some of these people. But I'd be like, no. And I would defend them every single time. But every single time, even after I defended them, she would come back, dry my tears, and be like, Caroline, it's okay. So very thankful for my mom, and in some cases, wish I understood what she was saying sooner. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I think living in a time we do in Gen Z, where there's so much posts on social media, made things so much harder, and you learned a lot more times that you weren't invited because things were posted everywhere, and then you found out, and then you would feel absolutely ruined. And to this day, I think that's why I have such a negative relationship with Snapchat and why I just completely deleted it a year ago, because it just sucks. And it still happens to me at some points where you're like, oh, wait, what? So I just decided to get rid of it completely because I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I knew it was going to keep happening from time to time, and I knew I couldn't handle that emotion. So I was like, okay, we're just going to get rid of it. But that was kind of friendships I grew up around, and other people would see it from an outside perspective and be like, wait, why is this happening? And I would be like, what do you mean? And like to them and to other people, it'd be like red flashing lights. But to me, I'd be like, what do you mean? These are my friends. So then it got to the point where I would text and be like, hey, like, why wasn't I invited? Like, I'm just confused. And I would get upset every time. And then I was seen as dramatic because I expressed my feelings a lot. And to me, being able to express your feelings is a really good thing. And other people made it like I was dramatic. And do not get me wrong, there were points where, oh my gosh, drama was my middle name. I am not saying that there were not points where I was drama, but a lot of those times were me just expressing that I was sad or upset and doing it on replay over and over because it kept happening. But as I grew up, I learned very quickly that just because you want to keep quiet just to people please only keeps the peace for them. And it will make you go stir crazy. And there were times where I was like, no, I'm not going to mention it. But then I learned the fine line of being mature and being walked on, and there's a very vast difference. And for the people who are struggling with being with certain friends right now, I want you to know that difference. I have a whole episode on that because there's a very fine line between keeping the peace or then being walked on and being called drama or being called immature. Very big difference. Big, big, big. Know that. And when you keep people pleasing and trying to keep the peace with these people, it then soon becomes how many times can people treat you like shit and get away with it because they think you're just going to brush over it. They think you're not going to care. Anytime I kept the peace for things like that, it was just me creating less and less boundaries. And that's why I feel like a lot of these friendships didn't work out, was because if there were no boundaries, I let them give me shit. And then I somehow found myself being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I made this TikTok the other day and it was like, being an empath is so freaking hard because you go to someone and you're like, I really am upset because you did this to me and I feel like this. But then like 10 minutes later, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And it's like a complete opposite. And it's something you have to learn to navigate because it's very hard being someone who's very empathetic for people, but also trying to keep those boundaries. And if you're noticing things like this in your current relationships, it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to just tell them straight up, hey, this isn't going to work out right now. I need some time. Or sometimes it's okay to just completely take a step back away and just kind of reel yourself in just to protect your peace. And it's okay to feel super sad like you lost someone, because it is a feeling of mourning when you lose someone that was in your life for so long, or that you're trying to figure out a world where you're not texting them every day. And that is something that is really hard and really takes time to relearn because you're used to texting that person your daily life updates. But yeah, sometimes you just need to take a step back, be alone by yourself for a minute and learn your priorities and have them learn them too. Because there were friendships in my life where they were my top priority and I was not even on their ranked list for like even a second. Like, you just know I was like an understudy of someone. And that wasn't a poor reflection on me, and that wasn't a poor reflection on them either, because people have different priorities. And that very well can still make you upset because someone who may have been your number one priority, you may not have been for them. But that's kind of how life operates. You start to learn what priority you are to other people and vice versa. And wouldn't you want to know sooner that, okay, I'm not their priority even though they're mine, so you can refocus your energy and attention on people who also think of you as their first priority? That's really helped me learning how to change that narrative, because it turns a negative into a more lighter, positive note. So instead of being like, oh, I was never first for them, instead, I was like, okay, I was never first for them at that moment, but now I know where I can refocus my energy, and it just makes you feel lighter. And instead of holding like resentment and anger towards someone, it instead just makes you refocused, and that helps your life. They're doing you a favor by showing you those actions, because then you can do yourself a favor and surround yourself by those people that want to put you first, that see you as a top priority, that see you on their A-list and not an understudy. And it's funny because people would tell me, and I would get hints in some of my old friendships where I was not a priority to them, and that is okay. And I could really easily see that looking back now, because was I ever even really myself? I don't know. I mean, I remember everything I said. I got that hot feeling, like that pressure of like, is what I'm about to say going to get me made fun of? Is what I'm going to wear tonight going to get me made fun of? Actually, I remember I got this fake Gucci belt for Christmas because obviously I couldn't ask for a real one. They were so stupid expensive. So I got a fake one. But of course I said it was real. Like, you're telling me you're going to order from DHgate and not say it's the real bag because it looks literally identical? Of course you're going to. And so I was like, yeah, I got a Gucci belt. I'm so excited. And this one person would be like, it's fake. And I'd get a compliment on it, and then they would run right in and be like, it's fake. It's fake. And I remember how upset I would get, because every compliment I got, it was taken away in a second, because she would just come in, and it was, you could see it was kind of like out of insecurity, but it just stays with me to this day, because I'm like, you really had to go yuck my yum, or like what you learn in kindergarten where like you dip someone else's bucket, dip my bucket, and take that compliment away from me when I just wanted to feel good about myself and my fake Gucci belt. And then because I got this dished at me so much, I dished it right back. Because when you're insecure and when someone else is insecure, it just dishes right back to each other. You think it's kind of normal, the banter, and it's not. There's no room in friendships for jealousy or insecurity with one another. Insecurity as a whole, that's a whole different thing. But being insecure to be yourself around one another or not allowing people to get compliments and taking them away from them is not going to be a friendship that gets you very far. And as I grow up and I can look back and notice points where I was very insecure and didn't treat people at a younger age the way I probably should have, I can see how much of it was out of insecurity. And the more you grow up, the more you also realize what you deserve and stop dealing with people's bullshit and stop just people pleasing to have people like you. Because at the end of the day, who cares if someone doesn't like you? That's a reflection on them and not you. It's jealousy and it's insecurity. Period. So it's safe to say I've seen both sides of friendships, and I didn't know how bad some of my old friendships were until I experienced healthy and nurturing friendships later on. As funny as it is, when I was little and a play date was over, I would be hysterically crying. I'd be hiding with my friend in her closet or something and would be so sad to leave. That's how you should feel with the friendships you have now and in front of you. You should have that excitement with each and every one of your friends. It shouldn't feel like, oh my gosh, when is this going to be over? Or, oh, do I have to go today? Or, oh, wait, I actually got a pity invite and that's why I was invited. When you find the right people, they won't leave you out on purpose. They won't get like a kink from leaving you out, because honestly, I feel like some people get that, where they have like such a power trip and they literally, I don't know, they get a kink over it. That won't happen. You won't feel like you're just getting a pity invite, and you'll actually feel happy to be there and excited to be there and fully be yourself with your people. I'm going to let you in on a little hint here. A lot of people that said they didn't like you, or the ones that got a kink from leaving you out, were always just incredibly insecure and scared to face others' opinions. So it was easier for them to do this to you than hear it from someone else or be told off by someone else. But you can see that's where the people-pleasing element comes in, because it's easier to hurt your feelings than someone who, in simple words, doesn't take shit from people. But when someone also does that to you, it shows their true colors and it shows who's the priority. And it's safe to say learning all these negative friendships really helped me to solidify what I wanted in my other relationships. I knew loyalty was a big thing I was looking for in my friendships going forward. And without not knowing all the bad in these friendships, I wouldn't have learned all the good. I wouldn't have learned of who I want to be as a person, and I wouldn't have been able to better myself. So life played out the exact way it was supposed to. I took a step back from some of these friendships, and in some of these friendships, I didn't have the power to take a step back, and they had to do it. And at the time, I was devastated. But now I don't look back and see it with resentment. I look back and literally say thank you, because I would have not been the person I am today or met my best friends I have today and really learned what I was looking for in a friendship until that happened. And you can't experience the good until you know what the bad feels like, or how would you understand what the good felt like? And I wasn't strong enough to do that on my own, so I'm very thankful. And not living with that resentment towards someone makes you feel so much lighter and stronger and happier, because now you can understand what you want to attract, because what you put out into the world is what you're going to attract, whether that's relationships in any type. So obviously, I didn't have great relationships at this time because I was a very insecure person too. So I was attracting insecurity. And if we've learned one thing, there is no room for insecurity in friendships, and insecurity does not make the world go round. So like I said before, life played out exactly the way it was supposed to be. I moved, made some amazing best friends that are my world, and that are my people, just like I said in the beginning. And that really taught me a lot about friendship. But on top of meeting new people and becoming really close and learning so much about true friendships, I also read a lot of self-help books and chose to be lonely for a while. Especially after graduation, it's very hard to come back to your hometown and not have your group of people that you were always around with for the past 4 years, and trying to re-navigate that. So I kept to myself. I hung out at home a lot and really only let myself be around people who made an effort and people who were good for me. Because there would be some people I reached out to, and the next time I heard from them again was when I reached out to them again. You could tell the priorities were different, and that was something I've really started to pick up on, especially in my last year, and really understanding the importance of priority. If you wanted to, you would. I know we always say that about guys. If he wanted to, he would. But also, if she wanted to, she would. And if you wanted to, you would. So with friendships, it comes a balance, and I've been lucky to learn that balance through all these healthy relationships. And I think back to the people who left my life and the people who I left that I took a step back from. And I still think I would have been stuck in that negative cycle. Actually, I know I still would have if it wasn't for their strength. When they say rejection is redirection, I do think that is very true. And that goes for all kinds of relationships. Sometimes we don't have the strength to leave, so they do it for us. And again, that's why we say thank you. And taking this time to be lonely made me put myself out into the world and experience things that I would have never have done by myself. Some of these things I would have had to call a friend and be like, hey, do you want to go? I went to the movies by myself, saw a great movie. And before, if this was all those years ago, I would have not had the confidence to go by myself. I would have been like, oh, that's weird. No, it's not weird. It's actually the best thing you can do. And I really had such a fun night. But it was really fun. And I started getting on my comfort zone. I started going to bar classes by myself and met some amazing people. And now when I go to bar classes in the morning, I'm like, hey, how are you? How was your day? How was your thing? Because not only does it make me feel good having these new relationships, but it also makes me feel good that they're invested in my life and I'm invested in their life. And then I had so much fun meeting these people. So I was like, okay, how can I take this a step further and really get myself out there in my hometown? So then I started rekindling friendships from high school with people I had never hung out with, but I always thought were super nice from high school. And now we've been going out and going to the bar. And honestly, I've told you guys, I don't like the bar, but I've gone out sober with them one of the times, and I went out drunk the other time, and both times I had an absolute blast. And I think it's really important that we get out of our comfort zone and do things. And sometimes it takes being lonely to find yourself and to allow yourself to grow. And think about it. Would you rather be with people who don't understand you and are mean to you, or spend time being lonely with yourself? And not really being lonely, it means getting to know yourself, because you are with you the most in your lifetime. You want to make it a positive place. You want to learn how to be happy in your own company. And one of my favorite stories, when I say this all happened and played out the exact way it was supposed to be, is that I was working at the boutique downtown, and this girl came in with her Tanner cards. And after she had told me she was very nervous to go in and give these cards for her new business. And that day, I really rarely work at the store. And that day I was working at the store, and I was talking to her for a few minutes, and then I ended up DMing her. And now we text every single day. We are so super close, and I wouldn't have that relationship without that. And I really think that just shows the universe really is working in more than one ways. And when you need something or someone in your life, it will bring it to you. So my friends, start showing up as the person you want to be, because the world answers with people and opportunities that fit into that. And when you are full and secure and confident by yourself, those are the kinds of people you want to attract. And since I took that time to learn about myself and adjust parts of myself that I wasn't happy with, I've been able to foster so many wonderful, fulfilling, nurturing friendships. And now with the people in my life, I know I don't have to be in the same room, and I know they will have my back. My friends that I got to see in Boston this weekend, we go months without seeing each other, or weeks, and we come back together and no time has passed, it feels like. And when we're apart, we'll still text each other and check in on each other and cheer each other on in all parts of life. And these friendships have pulled me out of my darkest days. They make me feel like me. And it is so refreshing to look at my younger self and look at all the shit she went through and now be on the other side, because I worked on myself and I worked on my relationships and can fully be myself with anyone I'm around. I'm not afraid to crack jokes because I'm scared people aren't going to laugh or something. My anxiety has started to calm down. I feel full doing absolutely nothing with them and literally just sitting on the couch. Just being with them makes my serotonin go up. They make the corners of my mouth go up. They make me so happy, and they healed the younger version of me who was left out a lot. When I found these relationships, leaving people out wasn't a thing. People making me feel less than wasn't a thing. It was just really good fun. And there's days where everyone has their things, but you can just tell it's a healthy environment. And what I'm really lucky about is with my friendships, I never heard them say, well, they didn't do anything to me, and they're my friends for that reason. With all of this and with all of my shared stories, I want you to find your people and not accept the bare minimum from people. It's scary going away from what you know and putting chapters down and closing them, but it is so much beautiful on the other side when you put yourself out there and take a jump and take time to be lonely, to realize what you deserve, because then you'll be surrounded by it, and it is so fulfilling. So I want you to find the people who make the corners of your mouth turn up. Find the ones who defend your name even when you're not around, who stand by you without hesitation. These are the people who make you feel like you can be your truest self. These are the ones who give you the space to speak freely without the uneasy feeling of worrying what they might think. These are the friends who show you what it really means to be seen, heard, and loved for exactly who you are. You deserve to be lifted up and to feel lifted up and not weighed down. Find those people. Oh, and I have a little piece of homework for you guys. This helped me so much last week. One of my friends had told me to do this. And basically what you do is get a notebook. On one side, write all the negative things in friendships that you've had in the past that you're holding on to. And then on the other side, write all the things you want in a friendship and write them as if you have them. Then you're going to take the side of all the negatives, rip it up, burn it, because that's no longer a part of you. And you're going to make your mind and body know that it's not a part of you by burning it, by getting rid of it, by cutting it up to a million pieces. I cut mine up, I burned mine, I had a ball with it, and I felt so much better since. So that can really help. The end of 2024 and the beginning of 25 and going forward, we are only having good, kind friendships that make our smiles grow, that make us happy, that make us feel nurtured, that make us feel positive, that make us feel like a number one priority. I love you all so much. And I am always a friend to you guys if you ever need anything. I consider this On the Bright Side family to be very close, or I would not be sharing this stuff online. So consider me your big sister. Nothing is off the table because you guys know my life is silly and crazy and all of the above. So I'm always ready. I'm always here to help. And I appreciate your super kind DMs. They've really helped me to be able to make episodes that really talk to you guys and speak to you guys and help you guys. With that, make sure you're following at On the Bright Side Podcast with Tooties on Instagram. I have a surprise coming in January that I'm very excited for and excited to announce with you guys. And also, if you like this episode, please give it a 5-star review because it helps On the Bright Side grow and have so many opportunities and help us get so many opportunities together. So with that, I love you so much. And remember to stay looking on the bright side, and I promise you it'll serve you really